In the beginning of the drama, we see the female lead Kim Jojo. She was standing on the crossing when suddenly everyone sees the love alarm sign in the sky. At that moment, she notices Suno ahead. The signal turns on and everyone starts moving. Suno was walking toward her and she also begins to walk in his direction. She was very nervous. Then, everyone starts receiving love alarm messages. The message reads, "No one loves you within a 10-meter radius." All the messages had a 0. Seeing this, Jojo looks at her phone and she receives a message saying, "Someone within a 10-meter radius loves you." She looks towards Suno. Just then, Lee Hye-young arrives next to Suno. Jojo walks away, passing between them. The scene shifts to 4 years ago. Suno is coming from the airport. His friend Min-jae says, "It must feel good to be back after 2 years." He then gives him an orange jacket and says, "Miss Jung asked me to take a photo of you in this." Suno takes off his t-shirt, and everyone looks at him. In the car, Suno texts someone, "Where are you?" But there is no reply. On the other side, Jojo is getting ready for work. She is working very hard at a restaurant. Then she stands under a fan. Hye-young looks at her and smiles. Meanwhile, Min-jae takes Suno to a place where Hye-young works. Hye-young comes out and smokes a cigarette. Suno says, "I didn't know he smokes." He then calls him. Hye-young looks at the phone, laughs and hangs up. Then, Jojo exits from there and sits at the bus stop. Hye-young rides his bicycle behind her. Jojo finds a piece of paper and starts playing with it, making a frog. Hye-young smiles as he watches her, and Suno was watching both of them. The bus arrives, and Jojo sits inside. She opens the window. Her gaze falls on Suno, and he is also looking at her. The next day, Suno comes to school. His alarm rings and many girls are happy to see him. On the other side, Jojo's boyfriend Un-shik approaches Jojo and says, "I've downloaded Love Alarm. Everyone has. You should do it too." Jojo replies, "I don't need it." Just then, a girl named Jin-go comes and says, "The teacher is calling you." Jojo is walking up the stairs when she suddenly faces Suno. They just look at each other, and Jojo walks away. Later, Jojo is sitting somewhere, remembering her childhood when she was running in an open field. Then Jin-go comes and shows her Suno's profile. She remembers that he's the same person she had just seen on the stairs. Now Suno is standing on the ground. He texts Hye-young, "Where are you?" Hye-young replies, "In the schoolyard." Suno says, "Come quickly." When Hye-young arrives, Suno says, "Look, how many rings have been ringing from the first day?" Suno asks, "What about you? How many rings have you got?" Hye-young replies, "I haven't downloaded it yet." Just then he sees Jojo with Un-shik. Suno looks at them as well. Suddenly Jojo's gaze falls on a boy, Dugu, who is looking at the sky. As soon as his phone rings, the love alarm sign appears in the sky. Everyone is shocked and starts taking photos of it. A girl named Gulmi is also watching this, who is Jojo's cousin. Dugu laughs as he sees her. It seems he likes her. Meanwhile, Jojo looks at Suno, who is staring at her. Then, the school bell rings, and everyone is caught up in the love alarm craze, trying to connect with each other. Gulmi is on her way home. She sees Suno and says, "I should download Love Alarm too." Now Suno and Hye-young are in a car. Suno sees Jojo and tells Hye-young, "Follow her." Hye-young asks, "Who?" Suno replies, "The girl you have a crush on. Am I wrong?" Hye-young says, "Yes, you're wrong," and he gets out of the car. Suno says, "You like her." Hye-young replies, "But she has a boyfriend and they like each other." Suno says, "Not all couples like each other." At night, Jojo arrives at the shop. Her aunt asks, "Where's Gulmi?" Jojo replies, "She's asleep." Her aunt takes money from the locker and takes a drink. Jojo says, "Next month I'll have academy classes, so hire someone else in my place." Her aunt angrily replies, "You always do what you want," and leaves. The next day at school, Hye-young is washing his mouth. Suno approaches and says, "Do you enjoy sweating so early in the morning?" Hye-young replies, "Yes, my muscles feel hot." Suno asks, "Do you have a problem coming with me?" Hye-young replies, "No." Suno says, "You'll never hate me, no matter what I do." Hye-young grabs him and says, "Yes, you're right." Now Jojo comes to work. Hye-young is outside making BBQ and looking for her. Jojo steps outside and says, "Can you give it to me at table number 6 inches?" Hye-young looks ahead and nods. Later at home, Suno's mom says, "You've lost 4 kilograms weight. You look fit in front of me, but on camera, you look heavier." Suno says, "Okay, ma'am." She replies, "Don't call me ma'am." Suno says, "Okay, Miss Jung." Meanwhile, Jojo is sitting in the shop. She opens the envelope, which contains money for her grandma. She counts the money and found it low, so she puts her academy money into the envelope for her grandma. The next day, Hye-young is heading to school when Min-jae comes and says, "When you got out of the car yesterday, I thought you were actually going to do something." Hye-young replies, "Do you want a fight between Suno and me?" Min-jae says, "If you like that girl, tell her." why do you just stare at her? Just then, Suno arrives, and Hye-young leaves. In the next scene, Hye-young is sitting in the library. He takes out his book, and a frog page that Jojo had made falls out. He plays with it and smiles. Then he takes his bicycle and goes to the bus stop, where he looks and smiles. On the other hand, Jojo is roaming around a makeup shop. Then she starts leaving, and Suno is following her. Jojo stops and says, "Are you following me? Why are you doing this?" Suno says, "Why do you think I'm following you? I am also going this way." Then Jojo starts walking again. Suno says, "Why are you going this way? Aren't you going home?" She stops and says, "How do you know where I live?" Suno says, "Don't you want to go home?" "I don't want to go home either. Isn't it strange?" He takes out his phone and turns on the love alarm, which shows 0. Suno says, "Don't you have a love alarm?" She says, "No." Suno says, "You are really strange." Jojo says, "Why? Just because I don't like you? Does that make me strange?" And she adds, "If you follow me, I will think you like me." Then she starts walking away. Suno laughs and continues following her. Now they are walking closer to each other. Then Suno says, "Wait, I have something to say." She turns around and Suno says, "Let's go there and talk." Meanwhile, Hye-young arrives at the shop where Jojo works. He gathers his courage and goes inside, but upon seeing Gulmi instead of Jojo, he becomes quiet. On the other hand, Suno takes her away from there. Jojo says, "Say, what do you want to say?" Suno looks at her and says, "I want to kiss you." Jojo says, "If you're joking, this isn't funny." Suno says, "I'm not joking." She starts leaving, and Suno grabs her and says, "Where are you going?" Jojo says, "I am busy. I have to go to work." Suno says, "Why do you need to work?" Jojo says, "Because no one else will do it. You probably don't realize this because you're rich." Suno stands next to her and says, "Yes, but my family is very different. I don't want to talk about this. What about you?" Jojo says, "I don't have parents. I live with my aunt, so I have to do everything myself." Jojo looks at him. Suno also looks at her and asks, "You like me, don't you? Then why do you act like you don't?" Jojo says, "No, I don't like you." Suno says, "Should I kiss you?" Jojo says, "I have a boyfriend." Suno says, "I know." Jojo says, "He also fights." Suno touches her cheek and kisses her. Then Jojo also starts kissing him. It starts raining. Jojo grabs Suno's sleeves and runs with him, and they stop at the bus stop. Jojo lets go of his sleeves, and Suno looks at her and starts smiling. Jojo smiles at him too. Now she was going home, but she was very scared. She arrives at the store and says to her aunt, "Sorry, I'm late." Her aunt says, "How long should I tolerate this old woman who has nothing to do with me and pay money for her?" Jojo says, "I will work extra on weekends." Her aunt takes out her bank book and says, "You've been giving me money for 11 years and half of it is still remaining." Her aunt grabs a drink and leaves. On the other side, Suno reaches home. And just then, Hye-young comes out from behind and says, "Go inside." Suno goes inside and sees that his mom is sleeping. Hye-young comes to the laundry room and sees Suno sitting there. Hye-young says, "Why did you come home late? Your mom was very angry." Suno says, "She's never angry with me." Then Suno says, "Change the topic," and asks, "Do you love Jojo?" Hye-young says, "You're starting again." Suno says, "I will keep asking until you answer." Hye-young says, "I told you, I don't love her." Suno gets up and says, "Today I kissed Jojo." Hye-young looks at him and gets up, walking ahead, saying, "Change your clothes and don't catch a cold," and leaves. Meanwhile, Jojo was at home, and the only thing she could remember was that she and Suno had kissed. The next day, Hye-young was going to school, and Suno stops his car and says, "Do you like Jojo? You have to answer." But Hye-young goes ahead and says, "What about you? Why did you kiss her?" Suno says, "You answer first, then I will give my answer," and leaves. Later, Jojo sits with her friend when Unshik enters the class and sits in front of her saying, "I knew you weren't angry and you downloaded Love Alarm." He shows her his phone, where 1 is displayed. Jojo is shocked because she never downloaded Love Alarm. Meanwhile, Gulmi turns on her Love Alarm and stands outside when Suno approaches. As soon as he comes within 10 meters, Gulmi's phone shows 1. Seeing this, she becomes happy. Then, Gulmi notices that it's Dugu who caused her alarm to ring. Dugu smiles and approaches her. This makes Gulmi very angry. On the other side, Jojo sees Suno coming and hides in the classroom. Suno looks at her through the window. When he doesn't see her, he leaves. After a while, Jojo comes out and runs down the stairs when Suno appears in front of her. She gets scared. Suno says, "Are you avoiding me?" Jojo says, "When did I do that?" Suno says, "Earlier, you ran away when you saw me." Jojo says, "Did you see that?" Suno says, "Yes." He places his hand on hers and says, "I want your phone number." Jojo says, "Not now." Suno says, "Why?" Jojo says, I need to do something first, and then she leaves. Meanwhile, Dugu stands outside the washroom while Gulmi hides inside. He says, today I have to tell you something. Gulmi says, he's gone crazy. Dugu says, I will wait for you in the park. Gulmi gets very irritated. Then Dugu leaves and Gulmi comes out. In the next scene, Jojo is going and messages Unshik, where are you? And she starts waiting in the park. A long time passes, but he doesn't come. Then Dugu comes and sits at the table next to her. In class, Unshik approaches Suno. He shows their kissing photo and shouts, is that you? Suno says, so what if it is? Unshik says, then I will beat you up, and starts hitting him. And Suno says, hit me again, I was already thinking about it. Unshik says, I'll kill you. Just then, Haeyang comes and grabs his hand. Unshik hits him too. Haeyang says, I told you leave him alone. Suno says, stay out. He'll stop when his anger is gone. In the park, Dugu says, you are Gulmi's cousin and you came here instead of her? Jojo says, no, she went home. Dugu says, I knew she wouldn't come. I told her today on Love Alarm that I like her, but she refused. Saying this, he starts crying. Unshik practices in the hall, hitting himself. Jojo goes to him and says, Suno? Unshik says, I know what you're going to say. Jojo says, I'm sorry, I hurt you. Unshik says, it's okay, but we both love each other. Jojo says, my love alarm doesn't ring for you because I haven't downloaded it yet, and leaves. The next day, everyone in class receives a message, and they start gossiping, looking at Jojo. Jojo checks her phone and finds that someone has posted a photo of Suno and her kissing on Instagram. She is shocked. Then Gulmi comes, throws her phone and says, this was brought by my mom. Give it back, and grabs her hair. Gulmi says, you ruined my family. Why do you keep stealing things from me? Jojo says, what have I done now? Gulmi says, because of you, my love alarm didn't ring. And says, should I tell everyone? What did you do with your parents on Jeju Island? Jojo pushes her and says, so should I have died with them? She starts fighting with her. Just then, the teacher comes and stops them. Jojo sits in class when her friend Jang-go arrives. Jojo calls her, but she sits down with earphones in. Jojo starts crying. Just then, Suno comes and reaches out to her, saying, give me your hand. Jojo gives him her hand, and Suno takes her outside the class. At school, Suno walks into a table and sits. Just then, Jojo's boyfriend Unshik comes. He's looking for Jojo. He says, I saw you. Why are you hiding? A little further ahead, Suno says, your boyfriend speaks loudly. Tell him to be quiet. Just then, Jojo steps out from behind a bush and says, how did you find me? I'm hiding here. Suno says, you are so big that you can't hide behind the bushes. Jojo replies, by the way, do you know me? Suno laughs and says, not many people stare at my face like you do. Just then, Unshik returns. Jojo says to Suno, just act like you didn't see me, and hides again. But Suno tells Unshik, she's here. Unshik goes to her and says, Jojo, why are you doing this? Jojo steps out and glares at Suno before walking away. Unshik follows her, and Suno starts walking too. Just then, he receives a call from Minjae. In the next scene, Jojo arrives at the hospital. A woman says, you've come after a long time, Minjae. In the next scene, Jojo arrives at the hospital. A woman says, you've come after a long time. Jojo replies, I'm late, but Grandma wants to eat pears. The woman says, okay, I will bring it tomorrow. Jojo thanks her and starts leaving for home. In the next scene, Jojo is sitting at the bus stop. Just then, she receives a message from her cousin Gulmi. Where are you? Why haven't you come here yet? Today is your shift. Jojo replies, I told Auntie, you will cover my shift today. Gulmi says, come here quickly, or my mom will be angry at you. Suno was walking across the opposite sidewalk. Then he sees Jojo sitting at the bus stop. She looked very sad. Then the bus arrives. Jojo stands up, and the bus leaves. Jojo doesn't get on the bus. She turns off her phone and starts leaving from there. Outside, Jojo pulls her hand back and properly grabs his hand, taking him away. Hye-young also gets the message showing Jojo and Suno kissing. Seeing this, he is shocked. He drops his bike and runs away. Meanwhile, Jojo takes Suno's hand and brings him outside the school, asking, were you the one who leaked my photos? Now the whole school knows our secret. Suno says, what do you want to say? Jojo shows him the phone and says, did you send this to everyone? Suno says, do you think I did? Jojo asks, then who did it? Suno says, does it matter? It's true, we kissed. Meanwhile, Haeyang, running into the school, sees Suno taking Jojo inside. He follows them. The two stand in front of each other. Suno turns on his love alarm, and Hye-young turns his on too. Then they hear the message sound, and Jojo's phone shows 1. Seeing this, Hye-young stops. Suno looks at Hye-young and says, show me your alarm. Hye-young walks out. Suno follows him and says, I didn't want to hurt you. Hye-young replies, no need to explain. Jojo made your love alarm ring. We said we'd trust love alarm and leave the choice to Jojo. And he walks away. Now Jojo enters the class and asks Junggu, are you angry with me for something? She says, you're shameless. Unshik skipped his training today because of you. Jojo asks, why do you care about Unshik? You're my friend. Junggu says, you broke our friendship. Jojo says, you're crazy. Junggu says, is this the only thing you didn't tell me? I went to your academy because I couldn't find you, but you didn't even enroll there and didn't even tell me about it. Jojo starts crying. Meanwhile, Hye-young is in school when he gets a message on his love alarm. In the canteen, everyone is eating. Then Suno comes. He goes to Gulmi and gives her his dial number. Gulmi gets happy. Then Suno says, I need Jojo's number in return. Meanwhile, in the playground, Jojo is eating when she gets a message from Suno. Where are you? Suno comes up behind her and says, why didn't you reply to my text? Jojo says, who gave you the number? Suno comes closer and asks, how long will you keep running from me? Jojo says, don't come closer, maybe my clothes smell like sweat. Suno says, I don't care, and gets really close. Now Junggu is sitting with Unshik when she gets a message from Jojo. She asks, where are you? Junggu says, why does she care about me? After doing that with Suno, Unshik says, it's your fault the photo got spread in school. Junggu says, I didn't do it. I just sent it to you. I did it for you. Unshik says, why would you do it for me? Junggu says, because you're my friend. Jojo became our friend later. We've been friends from the start. Unshik says, I shouldn't have downloaded Love Alarm, and leaves. Then we see that Unshik's love alarm rang because of Junggu, not Jojo. And when she was going home, she had seen Jojo and Suno kissing and taken their photo. Now Jojo comes downstairs and sees Suno with Minjae. She takes their order and gives them food. After working, she comes out, and Suno is standing there. He turns on Love Alarm on her phone and says, you turn it on too. I didn't see it earlier. Jojo leaves. Suno follows her. On the bus, he sits in the seat behind her and says, turn on Love Alarm. After getting off the bus, he insists on her turning on Love Alarm. Jojo says, why? Suno says, do it, or I'll lie down here. I want you to like me too. Jojo takes out her phone and turns on Love Alarm. She gets a message on her phone. Seeing this, both are very happy and laugh as they look at each other. Suno takes a photo of her and says, you're very beautiful, and takes her hand. At home, Hye-young is sitting when he gets a message from Suno. He invites him to meet. Now, they are walking when Suno suddenly climbs the wall. Hye-young says, when we were kids, you couldn't climb without my help. Then Hye-young sits next to him. Jojo enters her room. Gulmi gives her lipstick and says, take it. I used to share things like this when we were kids. When you first came to our house, I liked you a lot. That's why I said we'd share a room. Jojo says, sorry for this morning. Gulmi says, if you're sorry, break up with Suno. Jojo says, what? Gulmi says, I liked him first. Jojo says, I can't. Sorry. Gulmi says, my dad left because of your family's loan. My mom drinks every day, and you can't leave one thing. She grabs her hand and says, I like him. Please let him go. Jojo says, no, and starts to leave. Gulmi says, my family is in trouble because of you. Jojo steps outside and sees her aunt drunk and asleep. She goes to the terrace and starts crying. Now, the news reports that many people are going crazy because of Love Alarm. Yesterday, a boy hit a girl on the head because her Love Alarm didn't go off. It is now revealed that Dugu is the one who launched Love Alarm. At school, the principal tells all the teachers to ban Love Alarm in school. The teachers inform the students, and everyone gets very angry. Jojo receives a message from Suno. He has sent her pictures from various countries and says, let's go somewhere together. I have another gift for you. Jojo gets scared about what he might have sent. When she looks, she sees that Suno has sent a photo of her abs. She laughs. Now Jojo is standing outside and says, there's nothing wrong with this. Then, as Suno and Jojo are walking together, Suno suddenly kisses her and hugs her. Then they both start walking, holding hands. Jojo enters the shop. Her aunt hits her with a cloth and says, what did you do with Gulmi? She doesn't want to go to school because of you. I heard you hit her in front of the whole class. Is this why I raised you so you can hit her? She said you're with a boy and he even gave you this new phone. You are just like your mother. And she pushes Jojo and leaves. At home, Suno's mom asks, is she your girlfriend? And looks at his phone wallpaper and says, you never did this before. Suno says, she's very nice. He shows them Jojo's photo and asks, what do you think of her? His mom says, she's young, and leaves. The next day, Suno comes to school very happy and starts looking for Jojo. Jojo is on the bus when she gets a message from Suno. meet me before school. Meanwhile, Yang is also going to school. On the way, Jojo sees him. He immediately drops his bicycle so that it doesn't come within a 10-meter circle of her and he gets injured. Now he arrives at school. Suddenly a message appears on his love alarm, and he starts looking around. Then a boy comes out of the washroom, sees him, and runs back inside. Yang grabs his collar and says, "Is this why you're avoiding me?" He says, "Are you going to tell everyone?" Yang walks ahead and says, "These are your feelings and you can't control them." The boy leaves. Now Yang cleans his blood and takes out his phone to check his love alarm. Meanwhile, Jojo is at school when her love alarm rings. She becomes happy and thinks that Suno is near. She opens the nurse's room door and finds Yang there. She is shocked. Just then, her love alarm rings again and she sees Suno coming toward her. She is very surprised to see both of them. Jojo remembers how often she had seen Yang in the shop and how her love alarm rang in the shop. Then, Jojo was on the terrace when Suno arrived. After some conversation, Suno says, "We'll spend some time together on the school trip." Jojo says, "I'm not going." Suno says, "Then I won't go either. I won't enjoy it without you." He grabs her hand and says, "I missed you so much yesterday." Then he touches her cheek and smiles. After school, Suno says, "Come with me." Jojo says, "I have to go to work." Suno says, "No, you don't." Jojo says, "What if they fire me?" Suno says, "Don't worry, they won't fire you." He grabs her hand and runs away. In the next scene, Yang was in the shop when he saw Minjae working. He asks, "What are you doing here?" Minjae says, "I don't know what I'm doing." Suno went on a date with his girlfriend. Just then, his boss tells him to get back to work, and he goes inside, feeling very sad. On the other hand, Suno and Jojo are skating. Suno doesn't know how to skate, so Jojo grabs his hand and they skate together. Suddenly, Suno's love alarm starts ringing repeatedly. Suno asks, "Should I turn it off?" Jojo says, "No, leave it." Suno says, "Don't you feel anything?" "My alarm is ringing because of other girls." Jojo says, "No, because you made my alarm ring." After a while, they talk in the park. Suddenly, Jojo kisses him on the cheek and says, "Thanks." Then she runs away. When she reaches home, Jojo says, "I'll see you tomorrow," lets go of his hand and says bye. Suno watches her leave. Just then, Gulmi comes from behind and says, "I need to talk to you." That night, Jojo is happy looking at Suno's photos and saves the park pictures under Suno's contact. On the other hand, Yang is on the bridge, remembering Jojo's words. He deletes his love alarm and says sadly, "We can't stop liking someone." The next day, the teacher calls Jojo and gives her the canteen card. Jojo thinks happily, "My aunt must have given him the canteen money." At the canteen, Suno and Jojo are sitting together. Suno puts food on her plate and says, "Eat this too." Jojo says, "Sit on the other side, it feels weird." Suno says, "No, I want to sit next to you." Jojo starts eating, and Suno says, "You look so beautiful even while eating." Yang is playing basketball when Suno approaches him and asks, "Why didn't you eat?" He says, "I ate earlier." Yang says, "We won't eat together from tomorrow. I feel weird sitting with you both." That night, Gulmi talks to Jojo about her lunch, saying, "I told Suno about your financial condition. That's why he gave the money for your canteen card." Jojo goes to the terrace, calls Suno, but he doesn't answer. She texts him, "Why did you do that? I feel so guilty now." Suno sees her missed call and calls back, but she doesn't answer. Jojo thinks, "Then why do I feel so guilty?" The next day, Suno hears some girls talking about Jojo, and they mention what Gulmi had told them. Suno gets angry and calls Gulmi asking, "Why did you spread rumors in school?" Gulmi says, "I like you." Suno says, "You like me because of my wealth and fame." Gulmi says, "That's not true." Suno scolds her. Gulmi sees Jojo there and angrily leaves the place. Jojo says, "Suno, look at me." He says, "This is my fault. I should have asked you first before giving money. Please forgive me." He grabs her hand and says, "Jojo, don't leave me." Jojo says, "You didn't do anything wrong. If I were in your place, I would have done the same." She fixes his hair and says, "Why are you so cute?" Hee-young watches them quietly. Everyone is hanging out when Eunshik's love alarm rings. Jung-gu starts hiding his phone and Eunshik sees it. He asks, "Did you make my love alarm ring?" Jung-gu says, "Are you angry about that?" Eunshik says, "So that's why you sent me that photo so Jojo and I would break up." Jung-gu says, "I told you she was deceiving you. That's why I sent you." Eunshik says, "Don't ring my love alarm." Jung-gu says, "I can't control my feelings." Eunshik leaves from there. Jung-gu cries a lot. Now at home, reporters are interviewing Suno and his mom-dad. His parents are pretending as if they are all very happy together. During the interview, Suno starts getting irritated because his mom-dad are lying. His mom says, "Let's take a 10-minute break." Suno is in his room when his mom comes and says, "Don't do this." Suno says, should I tell them everything? Do you want me to tell them everything I remember? His mom says, what? Suno says, how troubled you were because of me. You wanted to kill me. Then Suno raises his hand and says, come on, let's show them we are a very happy family. His mom says, then show them, and do it properly, and starts to leave. Suno says, just say sorry to me. That's all I want. But his mom says nothing. In the next scene, Yang comes into Suno's room and sees he is not there. Suno comes to Jojo not there. At home, Gulmi is talking to someone on the phone. She says, I will report about Suno at school that he hit me. Jojo overhears this, takes her phone, cuts the call and says, don't mess with Suno. If you want to say something, say it to me. Gulmi scolds her a lot. As Jojo starts to leave, Gulmi throws a remote at her. Jojo picks it up, and then her aunt comes and says, put it down. You act so nice in front of me, but behind my back, you raise your hand on Gulmi. Jojo says, it's not like that. Her aunt says, you are just like your mother. Look, what happened? She showed she was perfectly fine and then she died, and all the loans came on me. Jojo says while crying, she was your sister. Her aunt says, true, she was my sister. That's why I'm letting you stay here. Jojo cries a lot and says, what should I do? Her aunt shouts, just get out of here. Jojo runs out and starts running on the road. She remembers running like this in childhood. She remembers her mom and comes to her grandma crying. Just then she sees Suno. Suno sees her and smiles. She forgets all her sorrows seeing Suno and walks towards him, smiling. Then they both go to Jojo's shop and no one is there. They both eat noodles and sit together talking. Suno says, on Monday, we will be together. Just the two of us. Jojo asks, are you really not going on the school trip? Suno holds her hand and says, don't even think about it. You will stay for 3 days without me. Jojo asks, aren't you going to ask me why I'm not going? Suno says, you will tell me when you have to. Jojo smiles and says, let's go on the school trip. Suno says, no, you don't need to do that. Jojo says, no, nothing will happen to me if I stay with you. Then she asks Suno to ring her love alarm, and both their love alarms ring. Jojo gets happy and rests her head on his shoulder. On Jeju Island, all the kids are enjoying. Jojo is holding Suno's hand and walking around. Yang is walking alone and looking at Suno and Jojo together. For the group photo, everyone makes Dugu stand with Gulmi. Gulmi gets angry. Then they all arrive at the hotel. Jojo goes to her room but no one talks to her. Down in the lobby, Yang is walking when Gulmi comes and says, I've been wanting to talk to you. Yang starts to leave and Gulmi says, do you want to know Jojo's secret? Then she tells him everything. Yang asks, why did you tell me? Gulmi says, because you are Suno's best friend. I like Suno. And how can you think he would stay quiet after knowing all this about Jojo after knowing what she's really like? In the next scene, Gulmi and her friends are dancing on stage, and Yang is just watching Jojo. Dugu is recording her video. Then Suno tells Yang, let's go out, and they both go outside. Jojo also comes out and sees them standing together. Suno says, this is Yang. Jojo says, yes, your friend. Yang says, no need to introduce me. I'm leaving. Meanwhile, Dugu is watching the dance video when Gulmi snatches his phone from behind, throws it down and says, you're shameless. Dugu says, I wasn't going to show it to anyone. Gulmi says, then why did you record the video? Dugu says, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have upset you. Gulmi says, will you stay out of my sight forever? Dugu says, do you hate me that much? Gulmi says, yes, you rang my love alarm. Why are you even alive? Don't come in front of me again. Dugu runs away, and Suno and Jojo stand there. Gulmi looks at Jojo but doesn't say anything. Hyeyang, Suno, and everyone are chilling. Hyeyang is only watching Jojo. Then the game starts and everyone turns on their love alarms. Jenggu and Unshik turn off theirs. A girl asks Jenggu, do you like Unshik? Unshik tells everyone to be quiet. Jenggu gets up and leaves the room. Jojo follows her and asks, why didn't you share your feelings with Unshik? Jenggu says, you never gave me a chance. You're busy with the new guy. Jojo says, why are you doing this to me? Jenggu says, because I like Unshik. Then a fire breaks out in the room. Everyone starts running. Jojo remembers her childhood when her parents' house filled with smoke. Jojo breaks the window and jumps down. Suno meets her and asks, are you okay? Jojo cries and says to Suno, take me away from here. The next morning, both are sitting on a beach. Jojo and Suno are about to leave. Suno gets into an accident on his bike. Jojo regains consciousness. In her mind, she recalls every moment spent with Suno. Then the scene shifts to 4 years later. A new version of Love Alarm is about to be launched. Jojo's aunt tells her, just work and pay off your debts. Why are you so scared? Jojo stays silent. The next day, she is standing in a shop when she gets a message. Your bank has a lot of money. She is happy to see this. Now the scene starts again where the drama began. Jojo was standing at the signal when suddenly everyone sees the love alarm sign in the sky. Jojo looks ahead and sees Suno standing there. Then everyone starts crossing the road and Jojo crosses too. Her phone receives a love alarm message. Just then, Yang arrives and Jojo remembers how Yang also loved her in school. Jojo moves forward and passes by both of them. Yang watches her. Suddenly, a girl calls out to Suno. Jojo turns and sees the girl hugging Suno. Seeing this, she leaves from there. After the accident, Jojo calls Suno many times and sends messages, but he does not reply. Then she asks Yang, "Didn't Suno come to school today?" Yang says, "Are you okay?" Jojo says, "Yes, but did you meet Suno? Since his parents came to the hospital, I haven't spoken to him." Yang says, "He's getting discharged, so things are a bit difficult." Jojo says, "Can you give me his address?" Yang says, "Give me your phone." At night, Jojo stands outside Suno's house and makes many calls, but he doesn't reply. The next day, she sends messages, but still gets no reply. Then, as she was coming down the stairs, she sees Dugu in front of her. They both sit on the stairs. Jojo says, "Every day it feels like I'm fighting with myself." Dugu says, "Do you regret making Suno's love alarm ring?" Jojo says, "I'm scared." Love alarm ring. Jojo says, "I'm scared. I want Suno to only see my good side." Dugu says, "Once we fall in love with someone, turning back is difficult." Jojo asks, "Do you still like Gulmi?" Dugu says, "She was the first girl I loved. She's the only one who hates me so much. I don't want your heart to break like mine." Then he leaves and sends Jojo a message. Clicking this link won't make your crush's love alarm ring, even if your love alarm is on. Then he sends another message. "I thought you would need this." Jojo is standing at the signal when she gets a message. Suno's parents aren't home. "Can you come now?" She runs to Suno's house. Yang comes out and says, "Come inside." As they are going inside, Suno's mom arrives in the car. As soon as she gets out of the car, Suno's dad says, "If Suno continues like this, send him back to the US." They leave from there. After they leave, Yang says, "I'll tell him to call you. Now you go home." Jojo comes out from there and stands there crying a lot. In present, Jojo turns on her love alarm and remembers Dugu's words, "I don't want your heart to break like mine." An ad is playing everywhere. Love Alarm 2.0 is coming. Yang is on the bus when the bus stops, and he remembers Jojo. Just then, Jojo comes and sits down. Yang gets shocked seeing her, but by then the bus starts moving. He runs back to the bus stop, but Jojo isn't there. He sits down and starts laughing. In the next scene, Jojo is sitting at home and looking at a sad post. On the other side, Suno is also looking at the same post. Suno enters a hotel and calls Yang saying, "Why is it so difficult to meet you?" Yang says, "I'm walking outside. 2 people are taking photos there." Then a man sees that many phones have love alarm on, all showing 0. Then a woman sees that there are many bodies lying there. Seeing this, everyone gets scared. Yang also gets shocked seeing this. A voice comes from behind. It has been 1,534 days since Love Alarm was launched. In this world, we cannot hide our feelings of loneliness. Minjae was going to a wedding and sees Jojo standing there. Jojo and her friend are also watching the news. Many people in a park committed suicide together. At home, Suno and Yang are also watching the same news on TV, and then they have dinner. Suno's dad says, "If the love alarm didn't ring, then what's the need to commit suicide? Kids these days are so weak." Suno says, "People have died. How can you say they did something wrong?" A debate starts between them, and both Suno and Yang get up and leave. Then they both sit in a pub. Just then, Minjae comes, and Suno gets a message from someone, and he leaves. Minjae tells Yang, "I saw that girl you both liked this morning." Yang says, shocked, "Jojo?" Minjae says, "Yes." Yang says, "What was she doing at the wedding?" Minjae says, "I don't know." Yang gets lost in thought and starts recalling everything about Jojo. On the other side, Jojo makes a picture on her tab and posts it on Instagram. Suno and his girlfriend Yukjo are having a photo shoot outside a hotel. Yukjo turns on her love alarm on her phone, but it shows 0. Suno tells Yukjo, "Delete the love alarm." Yukjo says, "I don't want to. I know you don't make my love alarm ring, but that doesn't mean you don't love me." On the other side, Jojo is sitting with her aunt. Her aunt says, "Go and give food to Gulmi." Gulmi is trying to become a fashion influencer and is live streaming. Jojo puts the food for her and leaves. Gulmi looks at Yukjo's photo on the wallpaper and says, "Yukjo is launching her event. Will I ever meet her?" Jojo looks at Yukjo's photo. Gulmi says, "Do you know her? She's Suno's girlfriend." Jojo says, "Please take the tray up after eating." Gulmi says, you need to check the store at night tomorrow. Jojo is walking on the road at night, and memories of the past come to her. She searches for Yukjo and looks at her photos, which also have pictures of Suno and Yukjo together. Then she remembers studying in the library when Yang comes there. Jojo hides, but after some time, she comes out of the library. Yang sees her and says, "Do you remember me?" Jojo nods. Yang says, "I was waiting for you. I've seen you before. Now I'm leaving," and walks away. On the other side, Suno and Yukjo are sitting and talking. Yukjo says, "I'll set Yang up with someone." Suno asks, "Why would you do that?" Yukjo says, "Because you always talk about him." Meanwhile, Jojo gets a message, "Merry Christmas." The next day, Yang reserves a place for Jojo in the library and gives her coffee. Jojo asks, "Why all this?" Yang says, "I'm falling for you." Before the launch of Love Alarm, people used to approach like this. "I want to approach you without the love alarm." He says, "I'll come here every day until my internship starts. Take your time and think about what you feel about me." And he leaves. Now, Jojo starts thinking. Yang is very happy. When he comes home, Suno asks, "You went all dressed up to the library?" Yang says, "Because I had to impress someone." Suno happily asks, "Who is it?" Then he looks at Yang's face and says, "It can't be her." Yang says, "Yes, it's Jojo." Suno gets shocked. Then Yang asks him, "Do you still have feelings for Jojo?" Suno says, "No." Yang says, "I still like her." Suno says, "Do you know what Jojo did to me?" And he leaves. He was in the car. He remembers when Jojo showed him her love alarm and it had a 0. She said, "I don't like you." Suno says, "How much time do you need? Tell me, I still like you." Just then he gets a call from Yukjo. She says, "Are you coming?" Suno says, "Yes, I'm on the way," and ends the call. In the library, Jojo was only thinking about Yang. Then she goes out to freshen up, and just then she hears the sound of the love alarm. It displayed 1. She starts looking around, and suddenly Suno comes towards her. She gets surprised seeing him. Suno says, "Yang wasn't lying." He comes closer and says, "Stay away from Yang. I can't watch his heart break." Jojo asks, "What did I do?" Suno says, "You left me. Tell me, why did you do all that to me?" Jojo wants to say something but remains silent. Suno says, "Look, you haven't changed at all. You won't tell me anything." Jojo says, "Sorry." Suno says, "Don't apologize. I had thought about everything. There must be a reason why you left me." Jojo starts crying. Suno says, "That's why stay away from Yang," and leaves from there. Then, Jojo remembers her past. She was sitting at the bus stop, and all the old memories of Suno come rushing back. She had done everything to get him back. Then Yang arrives and gives her a drink. Jojo takes it. He says, "Don't take what people say about you to heart." Jojo nods. Just then, the bus arrives, and Jojo thanks him and leaves. When she enters the restaurant, her boss refuses to let her work. She's packing her things upstairs and remembers Suno. She had spent so many moments with him here. She gets troubled and is about to leave. Then she sees Suno in front of her. He smiles upon seeing her. Jojo touches his cheek and asks, "Is this really you?" Suno says, "Yes. Sorry I couldn't talk to you, but now I can come to school." Jojo doesn't react much, but Suno is very happy. He then says, "I will call you," and Jojo leaves. She keeps looking back at him. Then she shouts, "Suno, I love you." Suno happily says bye and leaves. Later, she arrives home, and Gulmi is saying a lot of things to her. Gulmi says, "Does Suno know that your mom and dad tried to kill you?" Jojo replies, "Don't bring up all that." Gulmi approaches her and says, "Or what? Who are you to tell me what I should or shouldn't say?" Jojo says, "Stop being rude to me," and walks away. She then arrives at the shop. Her aunt assigns her some work and leaves. Meanwhile, Dugu shuts his computer, looks at a photo of Gulmi and Jojo on his phone, deletes it, and goes to sit by the window. Then he jumps out from there. Later, Jojo meets Suno. Suno says, "Say it again. What did you say yesterday?" Jojo says, "Now we are seniors. I need to focus on my studies." Suno asks, "So you're leaving me?" Jojo says, "I'm very tired of all this. My feelings have changed. So let's end this now." Suno says, "You said you loved me. How did your feelings change so suddenly?" Jojo says, "I don't know." Suno says, "There must be a reason. How will I know if you don't tell me?" Jojo says, "Don't talk to me from now on," and walks away. In the cafeteria, Suno goes to sit in front of Jojo. Jojo says, "Go somewhere else." Suno says, "Now you'll do this to me?" Jojo says, "I'm uncomfortable sitting with you. Everyone is looking at them." Suno says, "How do you not like me now?" He shouts loudly, "Everyone get out of a 10-meter radius." Hearing this, everyone moves away. Suno turns on his love alarm and says, "You turn yours on too." Jojo turns on her love alarm. A message arrives on Jojo's phone, but not on Suno's. Suno says, "How is this possible?" Jojo says, "I told you I don't like you anymore," and starts eating. Suno places his phone in front of her and says lovingly, "Jojo, love me again, please." and starts crying. Everyone is gossiping. Then Yang comes to Suno, grabs his hand and takes him away. As they come downstairs, Suno starts leaving and says, "Surely my mom must have said something to her." Yang says, "Even if it's true, you're just making things difficult for her." Suno says, "So, should I just leave her? I don't understand how she changed so suddenly," and starts crying. Suno misses Jojo a lot. He remembers all the good things about her, how happy they both were. Their love alarm also went off. Jojo then meets Suno and says, "Today, for the last time, we are meeting." Suno turns on his love alarm and says, "Turn on your love alarm." Jojo does, but this time no message comes for Suno. Suno gets very upset and says, "Tell me what I did wrong. I won't do it again. Do you like someone else?" Jojo says, "It's not like that." Tears are in Suno's eyes. Suno tries to kiss her, but Jojo pulls away. Suno looks at her, then steps back and says, "You don't have a heart," and leaves. Jojo starts crying. The scene shifts and moves to the present. Jojo was on the road. She remembers everything Suno said to her. Suno remembers the time he went to meet her when Jojo's love alarm had rung. On the last day of school, Jojo was going home. Suno was standing there. He starts crying upon seeing her, but Jojo walks past him without saying anything. Suno cries a lot for Jojo, but Jojo doesn't come back. At home, Jojo runs to the basement because she received a message saying 3 million had been transferred from your bank. It was Gulmi who had taken her money out from the ATM. Jojo runs to the bank but doesn't find Gulmi. She calls her many times, but Gulmi doesn't answer. She goes to the store and tells her aunt, "Gulmi stole my money." Her aunt says, "So what are you doing here? Go talk to her." Jojo says, "You know that was my college money. How can you say this?" Her aunt says, "If it was so important, you should have taken care of it. This isn't my fault. You figure it out." In the library, Yang is still waiting for her. At home, Gulmi comes back after a lot of shopping. Jojo says, "If you wanted money, you could have asked me." Gulmi says, "Like you would have given it to me. Anyway, I took it to join the beach club. If I get selected, I'll meet the love alarm developer. Then I can do anything, and I'll return your money." Then she throws Jojo's books downstairs. Jojo comes down, and Yang also comes and helps her. Jojo says, "It's okay." Yang says, "You've been alone for a long time." Jojo asks, "How do you know?" Yang says, "How would I not know? I've seen everything clearly. By the way, have you ever been to the Han River on a snowy day?" Then Yang takes Jojo on his bike to the Han River. They both stand looking at the river. Yang says, "Whatever is in your heart, shout it out loud." Jojo shouts loudly and expresses the sorrow in her heart. Then she says, "I won't falter. I will live and find my happiness." She tells Yang, "You should also say something. This feels so good." Yang also shouts loudly and calls out, "Kim Jojo." Then they both look at each other. Yang drops Jojo home, and Jojo starts leaving. Jojo runs into the store, picks up a drink, and goes to Yang saying, "Thank you for today," and then leaves. Yang feels very happy. The next day, Yang sends a message, "May your day go well." Seeing this, Jojo feels happy. At home, Yang places his phone down and goes to get breakfast. Meanwhile, Suno arrives and sees Jojo's reply on Yang's phone. "Yours too." Seeing this, Suno says, "I'll have breakfast later," and leaves. Jojo sees that she too received an invitation for the launch of Love Alarm 2.0. When she gets off the bus, Yang is waiting for her there. Jojo says, "I don't have the time or intention to date anyone right now, so forget about me." Yang replies, "You don't need to like me back because I like you. I just wanted to let you know how I feel." Suno feels very sad. Finally, he says, "Let's go back to the US." Yukjo asks, "Why? What happened?" Suno replies, "Nothing. I'm just bored here, and I don't even feel like attending the Love Alarm presentation." Then he gets up and starts heading toward the theater. Yukjo follows him and says, "All right, then we won't go to the Love Alarm presentation. I also dislike anything you dislike." Now Jojo reaches home and recalls that Yang had asked, "Can I make your love alarm ring?" Jojo thinks to herself, "My love alarm cannot ring for anyone else." Meanwhile, Gulmi is live streaming. Suddenly someone starts saying bad things to her. She starts yelling at them, and everyone leaves her live stream. Only one person remains watching. She thinks everyone has left and says, "I think I've been scammed out of 3 million won. You know, I need to join the beach club. I need to meet the love alarm developer. Please help me." Suddenly someone sends her a large sum of money. Later, Jojo is cleaning when she receives Yang's message. "Meet me at 4 p.m. in the schoolyard. I'll be waiting." At home, Suno and Yang's mom are talking. Yang is nervously watching this. Suno, hearing everything, angrily heads toward Jojo's shop. Meanwhile, Yang is waiting for Jojo. When Suno reaches the shop, he sees it's closed. On the other hand, Jojo and Yang are at a cafe. Jojo writes her name on a tissue paper and says, "It means morning in bright." Yang says, "That's very nice." Jojo asks, "What does your name mean?" Yang also writes his name on a tissue paper and places it in front of Jojo. Jojo says, "Oh, it means eternal grace." Yang says, "Yes, my mom gave me this name." Jojo replies, "It's a very lovely name." As they leave, Yang takes the tissue with Jojo's name on it. Seeing this, Jojo also takes the tissue with Yang's name on it, and they both start laughing. Yang drops Jojo home, but as he's leaving, Suno appears in front of Jojo. Suno says, "All of this is happening because of you." Suno tells Jojo, "I seriously thought that this time I might not make it. You still love me, don't you?" Jojo replies, "I used to, but not anymore. I am the one who broke your trust." Suno asks, "So, do you like Yang?" Jojo replies, "He's a good guy. I will try my best." Suno asks, "Why not with me?" Jojo replies, "Sorry," and walks away. Jojo remembers her past. She had activated the love alarm shield for Suno. Jojo says, "Now I have to remove this shield. The only way is to meet the love alarm developer." Suno tells Yang, "You got your own house and kept using me." Yang replies, "That's true. I can't stay here forever." Suno says, "This is all because of Jojo, isn't it?" Yang replies, "Yes, I still like Jojo." Suno says, "You were never on my side. Go back to Jojo and never return." The next day, the Love Alarm 2.0 launch takes place. Jojo also attends the event and finds out that the Love Alarm developer is a young boy. During the presentation, the new version's features are shown to everyone. Outside, there is a lot of protest, and Jojo gets caught in the crowd. Yang reaches her. Jojo enters the presentation hall where everyone is watching Suno and Yang. Jojo's love alarm rings for both of them, and her phone displays 2 hearts. In the next scene, Jojo is sketching for her page. Her friend comes and says, "Let's go." Then both of them run to the class. After class, Jojo receives a message. "Jojo, I am waiting for you on campus." Jojo comes outside looking for someone, and her love alarm rings. We see Yang waiting for Jojo under a tree. Jojo feels happy, goes to him, and touches his hand. Then they both go to the cafeteria. Jojo's love alarm rings again. Jojo laughs while looking at Yang, who keeps stepping in and out of the 10-meter circle. Jojo feels very happy. Everyone around them smiles as they watch. Yang sits at the table and says, "I promise I will ring your love alarm 10 times every day." Jojo says, "You seem very happy today. What's the matter?" Yang shows her his phone and says, "Look, the new feature of Love Alarm 2.0 shows the name of the person who loves you." Jojo sees her picture there. We then see Suno, who is at a photo shoot. Yukjo arrives there and Suno leaves his shoot midway to go with Yukjo. Yukjo picks flowers from a shop because she is going to meet Suno's mom. Suno also brings flowers for her and gives them to her. Yukjo feels very happy. Yang is checking his camera. He takes photos of Jojo and Jojo takes photos of him too. Then they take a selfie together. Jojo is standing near the window when Yang approaches her. He tries to kiss Jojo, but Jojo steps back and the curtains accidentally fall. Yang helps her up and asks, "Are you okay?" Jojo replies, "Yes." Yang touches his forehead to hers and says, "Come on, I'll drop you home." We then see Gulmi running toward the love alarm developer in front of everyone. The developer sees her and walks away. The guards remove Gulmi from the scene. Gulmi starts laughing and says, "Did you see? He was shocked to see me because I'm so beautiful." The developer goes to his office and checks the cameras. Meanwhile, at Suno's house, everyone is having dinner. Suno's dad scolds his mom. Then he tells Suno, "Attend a donor event and take photos." His mom interrupts and says, "He will behave well." His dad says, "I thought he would behave well even on the school trip, but then he got into a bike accident with some fool. Do you know how hard it was to cover up those marks?" Saying this, he leaves. Then, when he comes upstairs, his mom says, "What is she doing these days? That girl you liked in high school, should I call her for you?" Suno says, "Now you suddenly want to be a mom? Why didn't you do all that when I was in school?" His mom says, "What is she like? Money?" Suno says, "Not everyone is like you." His mom asks, "Then what does she like?" Suno replies, "Ye Yang," and leaves. His mom laughs and, looking at Yang's mom standing downstairs, says, "She probably doesn't know anything." In the next scene, Gulmi enters her room and starts a live stream. She shows up wearing her clothes and shows her outfits to people, but no one likes them. She notices that everyone leaves her live stream. She starts thinking and says to the audience, "Guys, do you want to know something?" People ask, "What?" Gulmi says to them, "I know the artist of Rising World." Everyone asks, "Who is it?" Gulmi says to them, "If you place 20 orders for my new dress today, I'll definitely tell you the name." Meanwhile, Jojo was at the store looking at her phone when she receives a message on Love Alarm. She thinks, Yang has come, but it's another man standing outside the store. That man enters the store and then leaves. A little approaches her and says, I need to ask you something. Why don't you upload posts on Rising World anymore? Jojo is shocked and says, I don't know what you're talking about. The man grabs her hand and says, I can help you. Jojo gets scared and steps back. The man approaches her. Jojo starts running and the man chases her. She stops at one place, and as the man moves toward her, her love alarm rings and someone touches her from behind. She's very scared, but it's Yang. Jojo sits down, feeling relieved. Yang hands her a drink and sits next to her. He notices Jojo's feet are dirty. He puts her shoes on for her and says, Your feet must have gotten cold. That man might still be around. Stay with me tonight instead of going home. Jojo looks at her phone and thinks, this is what it feels like to be with someone but have no feelings for them. Then she suddenly hugs Yang from behind. Yang is very shocked but smiles at her. Jojo kisses him on the cheek and says, Good night, before running away. Yang feels very happy. The next day, Jojo wakes up and stands by the window thinking, I have to get rid of this shield no matter what. On the other hand, Suno arrives during Yukjo's photo shoot and starts watching her. After the shoot ends, the two walk together. Meanwhile, Jojo sits in the park and messages the love alarm developer. I'm the owner of Rising World. I need to meet you. But there's no reply. She then goes to school to find information about Dugu. As soon as she reaches the gate, she's reminded of her school days. Her love alarm rings and she looks into the room to find Suno there. Both are shocked. Jojo closes the door and starts to leave. Suno runs out and calls her, Jojo, what are you doing here? Jojo says, I came to meet the teacher. Suno asks, How are you? Jojo replies, I need to go, and walks away. Suno stands there for a long time. Jojo meets the teacher. The teacher asks, Why do you need Dugu's number? Jojo says, I need to ask him something. The teacher says, Jojo, don't you know Dugu is dead? Then she sits in the schoolyard and tells her friend, Dugu is dead. She cries a lot. Suno watches her from his car. Minjae comes and informs him she came asking about Dugu, and then leaves. Elsewhere, Young's mom gives him a letter. It's about his dad. To discuss this, Young meets with a lawyer. The lawyer tells him, Your dad committed a murder. Young leaves the place. Now, Young is going home, feeling very sad. At the same time, Jojo is also on a bus, feeling very upset. She thinks, I wonder if I will ever be free from this. Young reaches home and sits by the window saying, Jojo, I miss you a lot. Then he sees Jojo standing outside, calling him. Young looks at her and feels very happy. They both enjoy time at the park. Later, they lie under a beautiful tree, talk a lot, and spend good time together. Meanwhile, Suno fails another audition. In anger, he drives away and arrives at Yukjo's house. When Yukjo comes outside, Suno hugs her. Then he cooks breakfast for her, but it gets burnt. Yukjo still eats it. Suno says, I'll come to the event tomorrow. Yukjo says, Really? And hugs him. She's very happy. In the morning, Jojo receives a message from the love alarm developer. She goes to meet her friend Monsoon. Jojo compares the developer's photo with Dugu's photo. Monsoon says, Why are you doing this? Dugu is dead, isn't he? Jojo says, I don't believe it. Monsoon says, You said he made love alarm because he liked your cousin. Jojo says, Yes. Monsoon shows her an article and says, Look, even the developer said this. He created love alarm for his crush. But how did he suddenly reply to you? He's been ignoring you for so long. Jojo says, I'll know when I meet him. Meanwhile, at Yukjo's house, Suno is asleep. Yukjo sits beside him, touches his cheeks, and feels happy. Jojo leaves Monsoon's house, remembering Dugu. He had said, Jojo, there's no other shield like this in the world, and you can't tell anyone about it. Jojo says, I have the chance to get rid of this shield. I can fix everything. She messages Yang, I want to meet you tonight. Yang replies, No, I'm tired today. Jojo says, Okay, you rest at home. I'll call you later. Yang says, All right, and turns off his phone. Jojo thinks, Is he okay? She buys some fruits and rings his doorbell, but Yang doesn't open the door. She calls him, but his phone is also switched off. So she leaves the strawberries there. At the love alarm meetup, Suno and Yukjo arrive. Jojo also comes there. Yukjo says to Suno, I had a very nice dream yesterday. I'll tell you later. After entering, the reporter says, Yukjo will interview you first, and then leaves. Suno is standing there when Jojo arrives. She's now standing on the terrace when Brian Cheon, the developer of Love Alarm, appears there. Suddenly, while turning, Suno also comes to the terrace. He sees Jojo sitting there. Brian Cheon says, Tell me, why did you want to meet me? Jojo says, When I was in school, the developer of Love Alarm gave me a shield. He said, with the help of the shield, no one's love alarm will ring if I like him. Does that remind you of anything? She asks. You're Dugu, aren't you? He says, Tell me about the shield. Jojo says, I want to get rid of the shield. He says, You were given the shield to hide your feelings and only see others. So why do you want to get rid of it now? Jojo says, I just want to be free of it. Brian Cheon says, you can't remove the shield because Dugu is no longer alive. Jojo stands up and asks, then who are you? I was told the developer can remove the shield. Are you really the developer? He says, believe it or not, I am the developer, and I can't remove the shield. Jojo begins to cry. Meanwhile, Yang approaches a tunnel and starts walking through it. Jojo thinks, as long as this shield exists, I can't be sure about my feelings. Does this mean I'll never be able to live honestly? Just then, Suno arrives. He holds Jojo's hand and takes her to the stairs saying, what is this shield? Tell me. Jojo says nothing. Suno says, because of that shield, my love alarm didn't ring. Jojo says, I'm sorry. Suno asks, why are you apologizing? Meanwhile, Yang visits the jail to meet his father. His father says, so you're Yang. Yang simply stares at him without saying anything. He remembers his mother's words. If you want to see your father, just look at yourself in the mirror. His father smiles at him, but Yang is deep in thought, showing no emotion. After meeting his father, Yang feels very sad. He misses Jojo and Suno a lot. Meanwhile, at the Love Alarm meetup, Suno asks Jojo, does Yang know about the shield? Jojo says nothing. Suno asks, do you like me? Am I wrong? Jojo says, yes, I activated the shield because of you, but I'm here because of Yang. You forced me to activate the shield, but I want to remove it for Yang. Suno says, that's a lie. Say it to my face. Jojo looks at him and says, you have nothing to do with the shield now, and starts to leave. Suno shouts, Kim Jojo, you still love me. But Jojo doesn't stop. Jojo sits and tries to call Yang, but he doesn't answer. Just then, Yang sits beside her and says, finally I found you. Jojo looks at his phone. He says, my phone's battery died so your love alarm didn't ring. Yang stands up and offers her his hand. Jojo takes his hand and he says, I'm happy we missed each other. While going home, Jojo asks, were you very busy today? He says, I stayed home and rested all day. Jojo asks, you were home? Yang says yes. Jojo begins to think and then says, okay. He replies, I'm happy to see you today. Yang looks at his door and sees strawberries placed there. He checks his messages and sees Jojo has sent, I left strawberries at your door. Enjoy. Seeing this, he becomes upset because he had lied to Jojo about being home. Jojo thinks, even Yang's small lie scares me. I used to think everything would be fine as long as I hid my feelings, but now this shield is troubling me a lot. Meanwhile, Suno is sad and angry. Yukjo calls him, but he doesn't answer. The next day, Suno is still thinking about Jojo and how his love alarm didn't ring at school. He wants to convince Jojo, but she doesn't even look at him. The next morning, Yang is leaving. From above, Suno says, you're leaving without even saying hello? Now both are on a hill but stand far from each other. Suno says, yesterday I met Jojo. Aren't you going to ask why I met her? Yang replies, I don't care. Suno says, you're pretending to be okay again? Jojo still doesn't ring your love alarm. Yang replies, I don't care. I'll keep waiting. Then he leaves. Suno shouts, when did we become like this? I miss you so much and I miss the promise you made in childhood. You promised to protect me. Yang says nothing and walks away. He sits at a bus stop thinking about Suno's words. Yang feels very sad. Suno is also sad. He goes near Yukjo's house. Just then, his love alarm rings. Yukjo comes outside and smiles at him. Then she brings him inside and makes him sit on the sofa. At the store, Jojo is about to message Yang when her love alarm rings. He smiles at her from outside. Jojo comes out. Yang says, sorry, I wanted to see you. Jojo asks, did you drink? He says yes. Jojo is about to say something when Yang hugs her and says, sorry, I lied to you about being home. I have to go somewhere tomorrow. I think I'll be okay after I return from there. Then Yang takes a taxi and leaves. After he leaves, Jojo thinks, something is wrong with Yang, but all I can do is wait. Why are even the small things between us so hard? She becomes very upset. The next day, Yang takes her near the jail and says, I'll be back. Then he goes inside. His father says to him, I've changed a lot. He tries hard to convince Yang, but his face shows no emotion. His father shouts angrily, sign this and get me out of here. The guard takes him away, but Yang refuses to sign. Then he comes outside. Jojo runs to him and hugs him. He cries a lot and Jojo cries seeing him. Then they both return by bus. Yukjo is at her shoot. She's very sad because her relationship with Suno isn't going well. She starts crying. Gulmi is very upset because her mom is kicking her out of the basement. Just then, Dugu joins her live chat. We see Dugu. He says, at the beach club, the minimum hearts were 3,000. At least earn half of that yourself, and then I'll reward you. Gulmi says, what kind of reward? Dugu leaves her live chat. and Gulmi receives a message on her phone. It says, "The one who loves you will meet you at all these places," along with a map. She becomes very happy. Meanwhile, Yang is traveling on the train. Just then, Jojo messages him and says, "Let's meet after work today. I need to tell you something." As she is about to board the bus, she sees Suno there, but she gets on the bus and leaves. Suno follows the bus. He honks and calls out to Jojo, but Jojo doesn't look in his direction. The bus moves ahead. In class, Jojo is sitting when Suno arrives there too. Everyone starts taking photos and videos of him. Suno walks up to Jojo and says, "How long are you going to run away from me?" People are gossiping. Jojo stands up and leaves. He calls out to Jojo, grabs her hand and says, "Ever since I found out about the shield, I've been going crazy, and you're not giving me any explanation about it. You didn't even tell Young about it. Do you know what I've decided?" Saying this, he kisses Jojo and says, "Look, you like me." At the office, Young is very happy after reading Jojo's message. He turns on his love alarm, and Jojo's photo disappears from his connections. Seeing this, he gets scared. In the other hand, Suno says, "Look, you still love me. You activated that shield so you could show me that you don't love me anymore. But you still do. I can't let you go until you give me a proper reason." Jojo starts crying, and suddenly it begins to rain. Jojo walks inside, feeling very sad, while Suno remains outside in the rain. Just then, Jojo receives a message from Yang. "It suddenly started raining. Did you take an umbrella? Should I come pick you up?" Jojo doesn't reply. Yang also feels sad when she doesn't respond. In class, her friend Monsoon says, "Can you meet Haya Yang in this condition?" Jojo replies, "I will meet him and tell him everything because it's the right thing to do." She then goes to Yang's office. Suddenly, her love alarm rings, and Yang comes out. He sees Jojo and smiles, running toward her. Yang starts talking to her, but Jojo hugs him and begins crying. Now, Yang and Jojo arrive at home. Jojo thinks, "Should I tell him?" Then Yang rings her love alarm and they both laugh. Haya Yang says, "I rang your love alarm 10 times today," and then leaves. After getting home, Jojo goes to the basement and sees Dogu's message. Now, she is on the terrace when she receives an unknown message on her love alarm. "I thought you might need this shield." Jojo wonders, who could have sent this? Jojo gets on the bus, and Suno follows her, staring at her. She still looks like the school Jojo to him. He remembers how his dad locked him in the bus, and Suno follows her, staring at her. She still looks like the school Jojo to him. He remembers how his dad locked him in a room and took his phone. Suno is still following her. Jojo stops and asks, "Suno, how long are you going to follow me?" Suno says, "Why didn't you tell me? You came to my house before our breakup. I don't understand anything. Tell me." But Jojo says nothing. In class, she is distracted. She remembers standing outside Suno's house crying. She says, "I thought Suno would be very happy without me." At the shop, Gulmi looks at the map and becomes happy. A guy enters the store, but her love alarm doesn't ring. Gulmi becomes sad again. She remembers Dooku's words, "At least earn some hearts through your efforts." She smiles at the guy and tries hard, but he completely ignores her and leaves. Now Suno receives a message. Yukjo hasn't shown up for the shoot for 2 days, and she isn't answering calls. Suno goes to her house. Yukjo comes outside. Suno asks, "Where have you been?" Yukjo replies, "Did they call you? Does anyone know yet?" Then her love alarm rings. A guy arrives. Yukjo says, "Sorry, I have to go. Someone is waiting for me." Suno asks, "Who is this?" Yukjo replies, "Someone who rings my love alarm," and leaves. In the park, the guy says, "This is nice. You don't ring my love alarm, yet we're still on a date." Just then, Jojo gets a video from Suno. She watches it and starts crying. In class, Monsoon grabs a girl's phone and sees that Jojo's video has gone viral. At the office, Yang watches the same video and runs out of the office. In class, Monsoon tells everyone to put their phones away. Jojo stands up and leaves the class, seeing that everyone is talking about her. She runs to the bus. Then Yang enters the store and asks Gulmi, "Where is Jojo?" Gulmi says, "I don't know." She shows him the video and says, "Maybe she's with Suno." Hearing this, Yang leaves and sees Suno. He walks up to him and punches him. Yang says, "Do you know how much Jojo is suffering because of you?" Suno replies, "What do you think? You think you know everything, but you know nothing." Suno also hits Yang. Yang grabs his collar and says, "Jojo doesn't like people seeing her, especially you." And they argue intensely. Yang walks away and comes near Jojo's house. He sees Jojo sitting there. He runs toward her and asks, "Are you okay?" Jojo starts crying and touches his cheek, saying, "What happened?" Yang replies, "It's nothing, but are you okay?" Jojo says, How is it nothing? How can you still care about me? Are you crazy? You should be angry at me. I'm your girlfriend, but I always hurt you and don't tell you anything. That's why you should be angry at me. You should fight with me. Saying this, she starts crying. Yang hugs her and says, "Okay, I'll do all that from now on. So don't get mad." Yang is happy because for the first time, Jojo is talking about claiming him. After getting home, Jojo tells Yang, "Look at me," and applies medicine to his wounds. She then goes outside, stands on the bridge, and starts thinking only about Yang. Now she clicks on the link. It says, "This way you can ring the love alarm of the one you like." Now Gulmi comes out of the shop. She sees Suno standing there and says, "Why is Jojo so lucky? She hasn't done anything and yet 2 guys are after her." She enters the shop. Then a guy enters the store and asks Gulmi for the bill. He then leaves, smiling at her. Just then, Gulmi's love alarm rings and she becomes very happy. Now, Jojo arrives home. Suno comes to her. Jojo asks, "What are you doing here?" Suno says, "I'm not okay. I let you go like a fool." Jojo replies, "No, that was my choice. Suno, when you came to my school, I was only thinking about Yang. And when that video went viral, I was still only thinking about Yang. If I were the old Jojo, I would have run away from all of this, but now I only want to go to Yang. I was just thinking about that." Suno starts crying. Jojo grabs his hand and says, "Look into my eyes. This isn't because of the love alarm. This is my choice. And this is how I feel. Now tell me, who should I like?" She lets go of his hand and leaves for home. Gulmi, still half asleep, says, "You've got a mail." Jojo looks at it. Yang had sent her all the photos he had taken at her house. Seeing this, Jojo starts crying and runs out. She says, "If I can't find a path, I'll make my own." Yang also sees Jojo's message and heads toward her. They both run toward each other. Suddenly, Jojo says, "Stop!" She turns on her love alarm and moves toward Yang. She steps into his 10-meter circle and turns it on. Yang sees 1 written on her love alarm. He starts crying with joy. They both look at each other, very happy, and Jojo also starts crying and laughs as she approaches him. Yang says, "Did you really ring my love alarm?" Jojo replies, "Yes." Yang says, "When you called me and said you wanted to meet, I thought something had happened to you." Jojo says, "You were getting worried." "Sorry." Yang just shakes his head, looking at her love alarm, and says, "This is amazing, more than I expected." Saying this, he hugs her and is very happy. Jojo also feels relieved. On the other side, Suno is thinking about Jojo's words and starts crying. In the next scene, we see a man who sees a post by Jojo. This man remembers that he was once at a park where people used to commit suicide. He was there too. He picks up his phone and looks at Jojo's post. He says, "I didn't run away from there because I was scared, but this is just like you said. It seems like you're not happy in your life. Do you need my help?" In present, he messages Jojo again, "Why do you never reply to me?" Meanwhile, Yang is on the train heading to work, very happy. Jojo is also on the bus going to college and she is happy too. When she enters the college, people start talking about her. Then she gets a message from Yang. Jojo says, "I won't run away," and enters the class. In her book, she finds a pamphlet for the Jeju Island Marathon. Suno was at his home, still sad. Lying on the bed, he just kept thinking. Then Min-jae arrives and tries to convince him to go for the shoot. Suno doesn't respond, but after Min-jae leaves, he says, "I'll go." In the next scene, Gulmi was on her way to the store when some schoolboys were laughing at her. She checks her phone, and there are 3 hearts. Seeing this, she becomes very happy. She goes outside and gives the students rice cakes for free. When she goes back inside and checks her love alarm, there are 4 hearts. She starts calculating how many hearts she has now and becomes joyfully crazy. Jojo gets a message from Yang. "Because of work, I won't be able to come pick you up, but no matter how late, I will definitely come to the store." Jojo sees this and is happy. Meanwhile, Min-jae tells Suno that Jojo is leaving. Suno quickly takes his car and leaves. At the office, Yang's meeting gets cancelled, and he also leaves quickly. While he's in the lobby, he gets a message from Jojo. While reading the message, the developer Brian Cheon comes and touches his hand, then leaves. Yang is shocked. Later, Jojo is working in the store when she gets a message from Yang. "My meeting is cancelled. I'm coming now." Just then, Yukjo comes to the store and smiles at Jojo. Yukjo had been ignoring Suno's calls. She says to Jojo, "I saw that video, but I can't hate Suno. He told me he hated you, but he will never hate you." Jojo replies, "That's not true." Yukjo says, "But I can't stop loving Suno." Just then, Suno arrives. As soon as his feet touch the ground, Jojo's love alarm rings. Suno says to Yukjo, "What are you doing here?" Then Jojo's love alarm rings again. Yang arrives, and his love alarm rings too. Suno is shocked. Yukjo leaves. Suno asks Jojo, "How did you ring the love alarm?" Jojo replies, "I told you it's my choice." Suno starts crying and asks, "You rang Yang's love alarm of your own will?" Jojo answers, "Yes." Yang walks up to Suno and asks, "What is that shield or spare?" Suno replies, "Spare." Yang says, "I heard Jojo used a spare to ring my love alarm. Did you know about this?" Suno says, "There's a reason you didn't know about this, but I knew it happened because of Jojo's choice." Yang says, "You're right, but I didn't know that either." Suno remains silent. Later, at home, Jojo sends Yang a message. "Did you reach home?" But Yang, very sad, sits by the window. The next morning, Jojo checks her messages, but finds no reply from Yang. She goes out to meet him and sees him standing there. Jojo walks up to him. Yang says, "I heard you talking to me yesterday." Jojo takes his hand and says, "I can explain." Yang says, "If you tell me to stop, I'll stop. If you dump me, I'll be dumped. I said everything will be fine, no matter what you do, but only as long as we tell each other the truth. That meant a lot to me because I was doing it with you. I was ready to stop." Hearing this, Jojo cries a lot and lets go of his hand. As she looks around, Yang has already crossed the road. He gets on the bus and it drives away. Jojo stands there crying a lot, thinking, "What should I do now?" Meanwhile, Yang is crying while working in the office. Jojo is standing below the office crying. She stays there for a long time and then goes to the bridge. She remembers how she rang Yang's love alarm here and how happy he was. Then it starts raining. Jojo is sitting at the bus stop, blaming herself for everything. At that moment, a man approaches her and says, "What are you doing here? I did exactly what you drew, but nothing has changed. You have no one, you're all alone. That's why you posted all that on Rising World." Jojo replies, "That's not true." The man walks up to Jojo and grabs her hand. Jojo gets scared and starts backing away. Just then, 2 police officers call out to the man. Seeing them, he starts running but crashes into a car and falls, and the police catch him. The officer says, "You're being arrested for the crime of murder." The man laughs at Jojo and says, "Tell me, you're also alone. You have no one. I did everything you drew. Why hasn't anything changed?" He starts shouting loudly. Jojo walks up to him and says, "That's not how it was," and sits down right there. Now, the news comes in that the murderer in the park has been caught. The police are also questioning the Rising World artist. Yang sees this news on his computer and gets worried. At home, Jojo is sleeping. Gulmi sees that her health is very bad. Yang stands in front of the store, but he doesn't have the courage to meet Jojo. The next day, Jojo is sitting on the bed. When she goes outside, she sees Gulmi angrily talking on the phone with the police saying, "Jojo didn't do anything. She didn't kill anyone, so why should she come to the police station?" Gulmi is very angry. Jojo takes her phone and says, "I'm coming there." Now she is sitting in the police station. All her sketches are laid out in front of her. She gives her testimony to the police and then comes out. She tries to call Yang on her phone but is unable to get through. In the office, Yang is also waiting for her call. At home, she is in her room. She remembers what Yang had said. He had said he was ready to stop. Now Suno also finds out that Jojo is the artist from Rising World. He looks at her sketches and cries a lot. Jojo packs up and starts to go somewhere. She is going to the Jeju Island Marathon. At that moment, Suno gets a message from Jojo. She invites him to meet, and Suno runs to meet her. Jojo also sends a message to Yang to meet him. At the bus stop, Suno and Jojo are standing. Jojo thinks to herself, "Thank you for waiting for me." Suno says, "Did you regret activating the shield?" Jojo says, "I regretted every second of it, but because of this choice, I learned a lot. So if I had the chance to go back to the past, I would still reinstall the shield and hurt myself again." Suno says, "Don't cry. I won't cry either." Jojo says, "Sorry." Suno says, "Don't say sorry. When you love someone, you don't need to say sorry." Then both of them look ahead, and they remember their school days. Then both of them look ahead, and they remember their school days. Jojo finally says goodbye to Suno with a smile. Suno also smiles as he watches her go, and she starts to leave. Jojo turns back to look at him and smiles again. To Suno, she still looked like the schoolgirl he loved so much. Then Jojo leaves, and now Yang and Dugu are together. Dugu says, "It was Jojo's choice to use the shield and spear. If she hadn't installed the shield, she would have never gone with you. This all happened because she used the shield to break up with Suno. I think she had to ring your love alarm. She had to tell you how much she loved you, and it was all true." After hearing Dugu's words, Yang thinks about it for a long time. Then he looks at a message Jojo had written. "I have to do something. When I come back, you'll listen to what I have to say." Jojo leaves for Jeju Island. At Jeju Island, many people have gathered. Jojo says, I always run away whenever I'm in trouble. I have to hear my heartbeat. Then she starts running and runs a lot. She gets tired, but doesn't stop. She realizes everything she did wrong, what was right and what she needs to do next. Suddenly she remembers her childhood. She recalls how much she was crying back then, and here she starts crying too and stops. She looks ahead and sees her childhood self. She starts moving toward her. She hugs her childhood self and cries a lot. Jojo says, this all happened because I hated you, but it wasn't your fault. She smiles and starts running again. While running, she reaches the finish point. Suddenly she stops. She sees Yang standing there. She smiles when she sees him. Yang walks toward her. Jojo is very happy to see him and runs up to him and hugs him. She is so happy that Yang is still with her. Now they both walk together around Jeju Island. Jojo says, I have a lot to tell you. Yang says, yes, I'll listen to everything. In the next scene, when Brian Cheon goes to his office, he sees Dugu is sitting there. Dugu thanks Cheon. Cheon asks, what do you want? Dugu says, leave Love Alarm 2.0. Cheon says, so you did all this with your older brother? Meaning, Cheon is Dugu's older brother. Dugu says, you didn't pay attention to my wishes. I told you 5 years ago not to launch 2.0. Choi says, you don't understand. The love alarm you created makes people feel alone, and the 2.0 version is for those lonely people. If they think that many people can love them, then those 23 people won't commit suicide. Dugu says, do you think that now people will date only those they see on your app? He explains to Choi, you should drop Love Alarm 2.0. Saying this, he leaves. Gulmi arrives at the Love Alarm meetup. She is very happy because she finally got the beach club. She sees someone coming. Then her love alarm rings. She thinks it's Choi, but as she gets closer, she sees it's Dugu. She asks him, what are you doing here at the beach club? Dugu says, I'm the developer. Gulmi says, don't joke with me. Hearing this, Gulmi is shocked. Dugu says, when I regained consciousness, I was in a hospital. This world had changed, but I'm still the same. People say I'm 23, but I still feel like I'm 18. Dugu says, sorry that I'm still ringing your love alarm. Gulmi thinks, he made the love alarm to propose to me. Dugu asks, do you still hate me as much? Gulmi says, no. Just then, an alarm rings. Dugu says, this hasn't launched yet, and on his phone it says, liar. Dugu realizes that Gulmi is lying to him, and she still hates him. Yet she screams at him and walks away. At home, she thinks, I shouldn't have screamed at him. No matter what, he was the developer. Then she starts working. Suddenly, she receives many messages on her live stream. She checks, and one article says, this is why Love Alarm was created. Seeing this, she is shocked and says, so this is the reward, and starts crying. She becomes very happy and says into her mic, do you want to know how I met the developer of Love Alarm? Then she starts telling her story. Now, Suno meets Yang. They talk a lot and everything is fine between them. Meanwhile, Yukjo returns home. She checks her recorder and sees that Suno used to come every day to meet her and wait for her. Seeing this, she starts crying. Just then her bell rings. Suno comes again. She runs outside. Suno approaches her. As he gets 10 meters close, her love alarm rings. Suno reaches Yukjo and says, I still don't ring your love alarm, but if I come here every day, maybe one day, I'll surely ring your love alarm. Yukjo nods in agreement. Suno is also very happy and starts his new life with her. On the other hand, Yang and Jojo sit together and make a list of things they will do. Yang reads it and says, I love you to Jojo. Jojo also says, I love you too, and they kiss. Then Jojo meets Dugu and asks him, do you regret creating Love Alarm? Dugu says, no, if I hadn't made it, someone else would have. Then they talk a lot. Later, Jojo visits Yang at his house and gives him a tape saying, this contains all the times I rang someone's love alarm, and because my shield was active, no one knew. They watch together, but it doesn't play. Jojo says, so shall we go eat something? Yang says, okay, and they go out happily to eat. After they leave, the TV turns on. It says, Jojo's love alarm really rang on Jeju Island. Whenever Jojo thought about Yang, her love alarm would ring. The first time she kissed Yang on the cheek, her love alarm also rang. In the end, we see many photos of Yang and Jojo that they took together. This is how the series ends. How much rating would you give this drama?